Yes.
Nice little run there at the end.
Thank you. This is for you, Rob.
What was that?
I have no idea. We'll figure out how it turns out when I throw on some additional instruments so it doesn't sound so crappy.
Yeah. Well, I did have breakfast.
Welcome.
I did have
IoT
breakfast
Coffee
this
Talk.
morning at the House of Blues. So there you go.
You're in Las Vegas, right?
I am in Las Vegas. Absolutely. The center of the universe.
Yeah, it is.
Soon to be, especially come January.
Oh, yeah.
You guys going?
I'm not.
No. Okay.
I'm going. I have a lot of meetings. Actually, Vinky's going to be there. So I'm going to meet up with him while he's in town.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. It's going to be cool.
I signed up, obviously, but I haven't bought anything. And I know it's pretty late in the game. But I also don't know if people are going to get spooked again by this new variant or not.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? So the thought has, the thought has occurred that I might cancel. So
yeah, because prior to this, I was like, yeah, we're all in with CES. It's back to normal. We're good.
Yeah. So, you just can't. I don't know. You and I mean, we've talked about this a lot, right? If you let something like this continue to mutate, these things, I don't know. Somebody said that, they'll eventually kill themselves off. It's like, since when did viruses,
attack each other?
Try to kill themselves,
Right.
They just run out of food, is basically what it boils down to. But if, they can go through these cycles and mutations as quickly as this virus can, I mean, they'll find a way, nature finds a way to.
But Jeff Goldblum told us in Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't know how he remembers all these lines. It's amazing.
Even though all those dinosaurs were technically females, they still found a way.
They found a way.
Right. Yeah.
Watch out.
Yeah. So and you know what? It's weird. At the onset of the pandemic, we talked so much about how there's all these opportunities for innovation and number one, establishing some degree of resiliency or capability to sustain our economy and our lives through this thing. And I don't know. It's weird to see how little we've actually proactively done. I mean, in terms of leveraging IoT and technology, some will argue we've done a lot. I know a couple of friends that say, "Oh yeah, we used IoT to do a lot of stuff," but I'm thinking, has it really had that? I mean, what capabilities do we actually have? Because we're probably going to have to, at some point, lock down again. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I don't want to do that.
I don't either, but I still think we need to be much more proactive in how we actually develop defense capabilities. I mean, this is like an alien attack. From if this was like a friggin' alien invasion, wouldn't we be mobilizing globally to develop global defenses against this thing? And thank God for the vaccines, but if this thing keeps mutating the rate that it does, then I don't know.
Well, in War of the Worlds, didn't the aliens end up dying from the common cold or something like that? Some virus or disease that we had, which is no big deal for us, but it totally killed them.
Was that War of the Worlds or was that Independence Day?
Could be both.
Independence
both probably.
Day,
I do remember
the mothership, man. They nuked the mothership.
I do remember War of the Worlds, the OG one, and then the one they did that Spielberg did, and it was either the common cold or it was something like that.
Yeah.
They just didn't have antibodies. They didn't have defenses for stuff. This is like when we hear stories about the conquistadors going to Central and South America, and more of the native people down there were wiped out by the diseases the Europeans brought with them than guns, you know? And so, I guess it's a thing. Yeah, for sure. So Dallas Cowboy hat guy, you feeling good about your team?
I'm feeling good about the defense.
Yeah, right.
I feel horrible about the offense. And it's weird because at the beginning of the year, it's like the defense, if they're just middling, the offense will carry them.
Yes.
And now it's quite the opposite.
Oh, boy.
That I'll tell you what, number 11, that Micah Parsons, is a special kind of guy.
Yeah, he's special. You're right. Absolutely. I'm just excited that my Seahawks have now won 2 games in the row. So now we have won 5 games.
And I mean, you guys have,
it's weird, isn't it? There's like all this talent. There's all this talent on this team. It's just like,
I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Wilson is one of the elite quarterbacks.
He looks like he's finally back from his injury. This last weekend, he was just nailing it to Tyler Lockett.
That pass.
And then we finally got a running game. We finally have a healthy running back, which we never have. We can't seem to keep any of our running backs healthy. And so that was good to see that. Rashad Penny, scored a couple of TDs. I think he ran for over 130 yards. And it's like, finally, you were awesome. Where was he at? San Diego State or whatever? You were awesome in college. And we've been waiting for you to do that in the pros.
He's arrived.
He's arrived just in time.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So if we win out, I guess we would be 9-8.
Wow.
Wow. I know.
Guys, this is crazy. So, David this morning couldn't make it. David Vasquez couldn't make it because he was supposed to be on a business call, but apparently AWS went down again.
Oh, no.
They're looking at another. So he's on the East Coast.
Today?
Well, no, I guess it was the East Coast problem, but actually, no, it's a West Coast issue. I'm looking at this article that says we're investigating internet connectivity issues in U.S. West 2 region.
Yikes.
So they announced that this morning, I think. Yeah. Today's the 15th, right?
Yeah.
So this is like really insane, right? Yeah, last week there was an outage, and then this week there's one. And so it's hit Netflix, Disney Plus, Tinder, Roku, Ring services, a bunch of stuff. So
Yikes.
Yeah. And also last week there was that reveal of the what's that thing called? Oh my God, I'm getting so old I can't remember anything. The thing that you posted on, Rob. Oh my God.
Rob does a lot of posts, man.
The security, the Java security vulnerability.
Oh, you're talking about Log4j.
Yeah, Log4j. Yes. Oh,
that's the big news for our audience this week is Log4j. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's some Java libraries basically that people build into their applications to do logging, right? Like when you're building an app, you want to log errors, you want to log maybe how people are using your app, health, stuff like that. Or if you're building a SaaS product, you would log usage, like you might need to integrate with the billing system to charge people for using your product. And so anyway, Log4j is mega, mega popular in the Java community. That's why there's the J on the end, Log4j. And if you look at the list of the products, serious products built by major players and clouds, they all use this thing. And that's why people are so scared that you have a 0-day vulnerability in this Log4j. And guess what? It's one of those kind of libraries, those kind of add-ons. It's not the real thing. And so people don't pay as much of attention to updating, or patching libraries of something. It's just like when we hear about like people who build applications in Node.js, for instance, and they use these NPM package manager stuff, and you find out that the package you took a dependency on to build your web thing has a dependency on 20 other chain of things, and one of them at the end of the chain is infected. So this is a big deal. Log4j, it's going to hit people hard. It's probably already hitting people, and it's apparently I'm already reading about exploits that are being built for it. So it's pervasive.
Well, people are going bonkers with it, right? The hackers are going bonkers with it, and
they are going bonkers.
And the timing is really weird, right? I mean, that announcement gets made. I don't want to sit there and assume anything here, but the hyperscalers are definitely taking the matter very seriously, right? Because a lot of their services, the services that they provide, their own,
think about
vulnerability.
So like AWS specifically, they built their whole cloud on the backs of lots of open source technology that they use to cobble it together. And, a lot of Apache.org products are built into that. And so that whole lineage from Apache and all the products, so many of them are based on Java. Or the Eclipse Foundation, that's Java heavy as well. And so yes, if you got a cloud based on a whole lot of Java stuff or your own IT stuff, you're in trouble and you're scrambling for sure. I know people initially joked and go, "Oh, well, don't play Minecraft." Because Minecraft was written in Java, but it's like, dude, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You are all hosed.
But that's funny, because if you think about it, right? Every single piece, because a lot of people they conflate the cloud and not recognizing that it's a multitude of technologies built into it. And so when you're saying all that, I'm like, I start thinking this whole notion of SBOMs comes to mind.
F-bombs or S-bombs?
SBOM, BOM, SBOM, software bill of materials.
Oh, SBOM. Okay.
Yeah, not blowing stuff up.
Right.
But, okay. But to prevent stuff from blowing up.
Yeah.
Right. And when you start to think about that, and I think that the majority of people that I talk to, whether they've been following it or not, they're looking at it from their own sphere of view, as opposed to the holistic view, to kind of state that any device that is running software, if it's got an RTOS, if it's got a Linux operating system or anything on it, it's running some software.
Oh yeah.
And all the way through back into the monitoring, all of the management, all of the elements that kind of sit in the center cloud. If everything was governed by some form of software bill of materials, you could prevent a lot of this, or at least you would have insight into something is happening, because you got this immutable. So you got provenance, governance, and immutability kind of all tied together. Yeah. And we're not there yet, but the idea, I think, I'm looking at the implications and I'm saying, you know what? It would make a hacker's job whole hell of a lot tougher.
Yeah, but you're bringing up a great point, but I separate the SBOM stuff from the problem that we're seeing here with just generally open source technologies and the governance around that, sort of this open democratized governance.
But even that would have to have an SBOM. It would have to.
Yeah, you're right. You've got to have that bill of materials that says, I took dependencies on these third-party libraries, code, whatever.
Right.
Because you're right. We're in this world where people, instead of inventing stuff, they're grabbing stuff from everywhere, downloading it from GitHub. They're going all over the place so they can cobble together their solution rapidly.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily, to Bill's point, with that SBOM of all those dependencies they grab so they could throw their new app together fast.
Yep.
And in the process, they're kind of hosed. And so yes, every company out there, every entity building software, they should have that SBOM that shows a list of dependencies. And sometimes your dependencies take dependencies on some other library, which is crazy. This is what happened when OpenSSL got hacked. And we found out that most of the planet was using OpenSSL. Right. And it turns out, rather than being a big community of open source developers, it was being maintained by one guy part-time. Right. How did the whole planet take a dependency on that? Oh my God.
Yeah. And I mean, seriously, right? It's like, so security wise, it's predominantly about attack vectors, right? Surface attacks, minimizing that surface. And when you start thinking about how frequently patches are made or how frequently updates are made and OTA and all of these other elements, if you have some level of provenance, governance, and immutability, you're going to be tied to a process that forces you each time you release to go, I'm compliant.
Right. But that's after the fact. What I'm talking about is, how do you preempt this at the source, right? Because
it's got to be built in.
Right. But that's and I see that more as a process as part of the development process versus, the sourcing of actual, the code, the software components that you're using. And, specifically, because we had that episode talking about open source technologies, and there's always this argument out there that's very popular that open source is more secure. Well, no, not necessarily, right? Exactly to the point that Rob made. And so there's the source software components, and then there's the whole process of tracking the usage of it, which I see as the SBOM piece, right? And so part of the SBOM, process is tracking provenance, but it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily qualify. Well, it should, but it's not involved in the actual development and management of that source software component that you're using. You follow what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I see.
Right?
I see what
so
you're saying.
So there's a whole. I mean, it's independent because when you're developing software, you can be using bits and pieces of various open source, software libraries, or even some purpose-built, or I'm not purpose-built. Sorry, that's my telco hat that I'm throwing on there. But some proprietary stuff, right? There's a whole mix of stuff that you can be using. You can be tapping into different services, application services through APIs, XYZ. Yes, I said API. You have to be able to track that as part of your own software development that you're pushing out to your end users. But all the software, the open source stuff, I mean, that's if you're suggesting there should be SBOM for the open source software community, probably yes. But I don't know, can you really do that?
Well, I mean,
Leonard, I'm sorry, Bill.
No, go ahead.
I had a question, like an open question. How do you prove that open source is less or more secure than closed source?
When it gets hacked.
But you mean
the frequency, the scale?
Yeah, of course. But of course, because you don't know what is on the closed source, and when it's hacked, you don't know what component got hacked, right? But I'm sure that on companies like big companies, if you go to the big five, I'm sure that they have components that are being used by all the products that are basically maintained by a couple of people. Yeah, maybe working full-time or maybe part-time, or maybe not have any hour assigned to that project, but it's being used in all the products for that company. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's the same situation, 1, 2, 3 guys working on that product.
Yeah.
Why is that more secure? Just because it's closed source and you don't see it? Why?
No. Because usually, here's the thing. There's sort of organic, community-driven architectures that develop based on, just like I said, organic collaboration. And then there's more structured approach that you usually see with, traditional software companies or non-open source software companies, companies that build proprietary software, they usually have architects, people who are assigned to, in a structured way, evolve the software. And so they have a lot more leverage than, in terms of being able to drive design versus throwing out into the community. Actually, if you think about it, there's a lot of energy that's invested into, developing and, progressing open source software. And, the thing is that no one's necessarily on the hook for anything. Everyone's kind of trusting each other, right? There's these open source organizations that try to instill some degree of trust around the technology, but for the proprietary software companies, they're usually on the hook for delivering, because if they don't, it's their share price, their stock price that takes a hit, right? It's all about, they are on the hook for delivering the quality. In open source, who's responsible for delivering quality? You don't.
To be honest,
right?
You don't know.
So I mean, that's why we go back to is open source. So the thing that that we were challenging before is this notion that open source software is more secure. There are people who say that, and they have no proof. And I think
you always have to ask, more secure than what?
Exactly.
The truth is that with open source you can know what is the limit of security, right? So you can say it's that secure because I see the code. Right. The problem is that with closed source you don't know. You have to trust the faith or something.
Yeah. You know how they say some notion of intelligence is when you can hold two opposing ideas in your head at the same time. And so I've got Mark over here and Leonard over here. And so you're right. Mark's right in that in the end, it's still just developers, whether they built it for commercial software or if they built it open source. It's still down to the person or people who are writing the code. It may or may not be secure in either case. To Leonard's point, at least from my experience, any of us who've worked, at big software companies like Microsoft, you go, well, there's this, secure development life cycle. There's all these procedures in place, and there's all these teams of engineers, and and then lots of testing and vetting goes on, and a whole lot of stuff. It at least gives you the feeling that it's a more serious process than what you see in open source. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that they're more secure in the end. They may be more organized, potentially following better practices, but you never know. And to Mark, we were just talking about the whole Log4j hack attack. Are you hearing that over in España?
Not really, but I'm sure that most of the telcos are compromised, and a lot of companies. But here a funny story as well is that the open source projects go with public developers, and what I don't understand is why companies are like big companies, maybe in the stock market, they are using open source projects, and they are not paying anything for the developers. Like these three guys who were maintaining Log4j on their spare time, they were open for I'm not sure if they were at Patreon or GitHub, or you could pay them through GitHub. So why, if you are a big company, why you are not just giving them some hundreds or thousands of dollars, right?
Right. Well, right.
That's open.
That's the cost of free.
Yeah, that's it.
No, that's not free. It's open. That's different. It's not free. It's open.
It's free. Because they can just take it and use it, right? I mean,
it's free. Then it's your problem if it's hack. It's just open, not free. It doesn't say that it's free. It's open source. It's not free source.
AWS was completely built on the backs of open source software built by developers who are still waiting to get paid.
But I mean, I guess I don't understand why even from a developer's perspective, there's a tendency to treat security as a piece or a module rather than the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. You're right.
It's not a revenue maker.
You've got to start with security. Just also like we hear about performance, right? People write crappy code and they say, oh, we'll figure out performance later. We'll add that on. It's like, no, you have to start with performance. You can't bolt it on later. Oh man. Yeah. Hackers, developers, a lot of times they just love doing the Wild West cowboy development stuff. And I'm guilty just like anybody else. It's fun, right? But having some process and some, stuff governance put on you around things like security from the very beginning is super critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the other, so I ask questions a lot because the security, right, is this, it's a huge lake realistically, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, do you know who's accessing these endpoints or this data or how they got in? Oh, well, we have, pre-shared keys, shared secrets, this and blah, 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 blah. And you go into all of the tech talk. It's like, no. Once they get in, how frequently are they authenticated while they're there? Yeah. And is that being captured? And do you have that hop by hop, authentication of and tracking of what they've been doing while they're in the system?
Yeah, I mean that's tough. And that's that whole forensic thing, right?
And this also goes to obviously what was the big news this year? The rise of zero trust principles, right?
Yes.
And so saying, hey, it's not good. It's not enough for you to make it through my firewall, cross my moat, and now that you're in the castle, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
It's like, no, we're going to re-authenticate you over and over and over every little hop you make everywhere because we don't trust anything anymore.
That's it. And I think that's all part for me. That's when I think of, it's not just SBOM is the answer. It is a component to it. But I think we have to, at least in my mind, we have to think system wide from the point of ingress to the point of egress. So round trip, I want to know who did what, where, what were you authenticated to do? What policies were being followed? I mean, I want to know, and then I want to be able to stop you if you're trying to do something that you shouldn't be doing.
Right. Yeah, totally. And so now we think about this, so much of this software and patterns and integrated software was all built prior to this zero trust kind of way of thinking. And so now it's like, oh crap, we have to go back. Do we need to re-engineer things? Was our tightly coupled thinking wrong from way back when? We thought we were okay. We just said, hey, we got a firewall. We're good, right? And so now,
absolutely not.
Right. But back to the open source part, do we have to reach out to all those people who maybe worked on that software 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Maybe they don't even think about it anymore. Or, you know what I mean? So much stuff.
And contribute. And make some pull requests on the code.
You're right. I think the whole world's got to take this so seriously because, I think people don't realize how fragile these systems really are when you think about it and how easily this whole thing could collapse around us. I'm not saying that to just scare people, but you do have people take dependencies on so many things, so many platforms, so much software, and that software has got dependencies and they have dependencies and it's a chain. And you have people who contributed code 20 years ago and they've never done it again. And you've got active communities, you've got dead communities. But people have that code everywhere. And gosh.
You know what, dude? Something just occurred to me now that you mentioned zero trust. I think the mindset that the industry, the tech industry needs to adopt is zero trust on open source software. Don't assume that it's trustworthy. Don't assume that it's secure. And then to the point that Mark is making, invest in making it enterprise grade, consumer grade, industrial grade, because you can't trust the stuff, right? And so if we really look at this problem, Amazon, Google, all the hyperscalers probably assumed this stuff was kosher, and now they're discovering it's not. It's pretty obvious that they didn't invest in, testing these different components and services that they incorporated into their software infrastructure services, and now they're suffering the consequences of that, right? And that the fact that 4 dudes are maintaining the code for certain critical functions like Log4j, it's like
four dudes are maintaining Log4j part-time. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that's
right?
3 dudes.
Three
dudes are maintaining it part-time. So that's 2 more dudes than was maintaining OpenSSL part-time.
There should be some architects within these software architects within these organizations saying, look, here are the critical components and services that we're using in our software. We need to make sure this stuff is kosher, right? And then constantly testing and ensuring that the open source community is evolving those, updating and hardening.
But Leonard, how do you prove that the non-open source software is as well secure?
I'm sorry, what?
How do you prove that the non-open source software is as well secure?
No, that's not because you. No, you don't trust that either.
Okay, and how do you do that?
But the problem is, what I'm saying is, so Mark, what I'm saying is mindset. Yeah. Okay, there are people in this world going around saying open source is more secure, hence more trustworthy because it's open.
Yeah, it is.
Is it really?
Because you see it. Yeah, of course you see it. The other thing you don't know what.
Yeah, but so do, like we've already talked about this. Yes, they see it, and so do the hackers. And it's all about trust, right? So do you trust all the participants, everyone who can see the code, and
how do you know that a former employee of a big company just steal the code and sell it to some hackers?
You don't, but like I was saying, for the
and then you don't see what's going to happen.
So these companies, but the way that these corporations are structured, okay, there is accountability to drive attention to security, because if they fail, they're on the hook.
But it's on the 100% of their code, so it's as well on these open source libraries, right?
Is it?
Of course. If you say that let's put names that I don't know, okay? But let's imagine that, I don't know, Microsoft use this Log4j. I'm not sure if they use it or not. I don't care.
Yeah, for
but
Azure.
Yeah, if they do these security audits, they should audit 100% of their source code. Yeah, right? I cannot see the code from Microsoft because it's not open.
Right.
But they should. If I want to consume one of their products, I'm sure that if I ask, "Hey, give me your security certifications," they will share them with me if I pay for their products. And what they are doing wrong, their job. You are not questioning that they are doing wrong their job. The problem is the open source guys who are maintaining that library.
No, I'm talking about governance. I'm just talking about governance.
They are doing wrong governance. Yeah.
So if Microsoft or any of these big guys, sell you jacked up software, and then guess what? They're on the hook for it. In open source, is everyone going to sue these 3 dudes because of the vulnerability?
Did they pay those 3 dudes?
Yeah.
For the functionality?
Do they have any accountability? They have no accountability, and they have no responsibility. They put out something and contributed to the open source community, and the fact that the quality of their code is compromise at the moment, exposing compromising the technology world, digital world at its core. They have zero accountability. There's no recourse. There's nothing. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do when
No. I'm seriously. I will. I don't mind being corrected.
Yeah, of course, but you have to release on what you say. So all these architects that are so professional on this company, they were completely wrong. Okay, because they didn't know that they had a hole in their architecture.
Right. Why?
And the problem is that this closed source code has a problem, and more than one. The problem is that you don't see it. It's like the black swan. Nobody believed on that because nobody saw it till you discover it. And the closed source had more possibilities to be security issues than the open source, because if you can check an open source code, you can contribute and improve it. The source code, you don't know if the guy who maintained that product used on multiple products of this company just left the company and nobody has his know-how to maintain that product. You don't know nothing. You have zero information about that. So how are you sure using a software based on non-open source software?
I think Mark needs to write a book.
Yeah. No. I mean, no. See,
right, Mark. You're totally right. You're right. If you can't see it, you don't know.
But you have to separate, so if Microsoft uses, the open source technology, what they're increasingly doing is because, either their customers use it more and they trust it, or they trust it as well. And that the point I'm trying to make is that you separate that from their proprietary software. That's different, right? So if let's say their whole Office suite is complete crap, guess what? People are going to start dropping it. Teams, if it completely sucks and is insecure and it is constantly compromised, then people are going to drop it. And guess what? It hits it
like it's hot.
Yeah, it hits Microsoft's bottom line, and you have to separate that from their adoption and support of open source technologies in like Azure, right? Don't mix the two. Then you get the whole matter confused. I hear the only point I'm not sitting there saying that proprietary is more secure than open source, but you keep arguing that it is more secure. I don't agree with that. I
don't say it's more secure. I say that you can prove that it's the limit of security of open source. With proprietary source code, you cannot prove anything because you don't see anything. You have to believe. You have to have faith on documents or people or contracts.
But if you buy the proprietary stuff, you can be assured that if the stuff basically causes damage to your business, you can sue their asses, right? Collectively as a whole user base.
I would need to check every word of the contract because I'm not sure if that's correct what you say. Need to talk with the lawyer to confirm that.
Huh? Oops. But at least you can do that with open source. How do you even do that?
Yeah, you can do a security audit and just if you find a problem, just contribute
to the 3 guys
on solving the problem. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can send
2 guys.
Yeah, of course, you can send pull requests and help the
I thought
the
part
maintainers.
of contributing to open source and having it accepted by the community basically, indemnifies you from being sued. Otherwise, why would you contribute anything to an open source community if, let's say...
That's why people put in wording, an end user license agreement, a EULA, or they put something in the README that says, like, for instance, since the very first time that Java was launched by Sun Microsystems back in the 90s, and it still is there today, this software cannot be used in like industrial control systems. It cannot be used for nuclear reactors. It gives you a list of they're trying to identify themselves because, to your point, they're being on the hook or liable for the failure of their software in a mission critical thing like a nuclear reactor or an MRI machine or something like that. And so you see people putting that in there in a README or a EULA or something like that to say, hey, if everything goes to shit, don't come after me.
Right, but who are you talking about? Are you talking about the open source developers who contribute open source? Or are you talking about software developers who develop end market software? Software that actually, they build an application or build out infrastructure that supports a nuclear reactor.
I see it with both. How many times have you installed software? Click next, click read this. You must read this and you can't go forward. And what does everyone do? Just click next, install it.
Yep.
That's what they do. Because it's like, I need this value that I'm getting from the software and I need it now. I'm not going to spend the next hour reading this giant document that says, whatever you do, don't use this for anything serious.
Yeah.
And don't come find me. I'm going to be living in a cave somewhere.
Right. But then that's why you have like companies like Red Hat, right?
Affordability. Yes. And so when you decide to take dependencies on open source stuff and then you ship software, like for this, like building Lumada at Hitachi, we use lots of open source technology to build that. And so we have our bill of materials where we listed all the open source libraries and things that are included in the product because Mark keeps talking about the concept of transparency to let people know so that they can see the code, they can see what you took dependencies on and everything to kind of give them a heads up of what's going on. We didn't invent this thing 100%. We grabbed stuff from all these places and here's the list of what we did. And you have to do that also for export controls, for encryption to certain countries. There's all kinds. Lots of people are a bunch of cowboy programmers. And they, I remember us doing an acquisition. I won't name the company. And they built their open source thing. And they just had their out on the web. And Iran was able to download and use it. And North Korea could use it. And it's not until you're doing due diligence in the M&A process, you're like, you can't do this. No, stop. That's illegal. No, you can't have export encryption and the stuff stop. But a lot of people don't know any better, right? They just build something cool and they put it out there on the internet. Come get it. Go to GitHub, download this. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna change your life.
But I mean, even though you say, here are all my dependencies, right? And everyone goes, okay, great. It looks good until it doesn't. The minute that there's a CVE and then it's measured by the severity of that CVE is the only time that people go back and look to go, well, it's a forensic thing. Let me find out where that thing failed.
Yeah.
Then it becomes an issue.
Yeah. Right. Wow, we are in such a quandary. So how is the whole planet Earth going to unpack and take care of this Log4j thing that's used everywhere? Anybody who built Java software, mostly server software, is using Log4j. It's everywhere.
I'll tell you.
This is going to be like Y2K.
Dude.
Java is secure.
Yeah. I'll tell you. Friggin'.
But they just
saying it all along, man. Freaking Battlestar Galactica, man. Dude, I'm telling you.
And then here's the thing too. Here's also what we know about human beings and real life and companies and people building stuff. People come and go. So the guys who put together XYZ product for your oil and gas company 15 years ago, guess what? They don't even work for the company anymore. They don't even remember what you used in that product. There is time bombs buried in stuff everywhere. And the originator's like, I'm retired or I'm whatever. I don't know. I think it's a forensic nightmare to unpack and uncover all the places, all the Java-based software that different companies built, because Java used to be really, really popular. And if you're involved in Apache or Eclipse, it's still really popular. And so, wow, it's everywhere.
Cylons are already here, man.
The Cylons are here.
Yeah, they're already here. Right?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
And,
oh my gosh.
And so are the aliens. The
UFOs are real now, right?
The people eating.
Because we have video from fighter jets and everything. It's real.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a thing. No one's freaking out about that, are they? You know, I guess because they haven't tried to blow up our cities.
Yeah.
Remember when you're going to have that party on top of the building in LA?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome!
Well, you know, we have to be the best reality TV show for the aliens. They must be watching us going, oh my God.
So as long as we keep them entertained, they won't kill us.
These guys. Look at Leonard and Mark, like just arguing about the most ridiculous crap, you know? They have a global pandemic going on, and these bozos are arguing about is open source.
Even probably asking, what the hell is coffee?
It tastes like crap.
Yeah.
It smells like an ashtray.
Yeah.
Why do they drink this stuff?
So maybe is it fair to say that this Log4j thing is kind of its own pandemic because it's so pervasive? It's every country, it's everywhere.
Dude, let's all write a paper on this, and it'll be called the Cylons Attack.
No, it's going to be called the Log4j pandemic, and it's going to take a lot of people and a lot of time to fix it all, and it will never get completely fixed. Whew.
Dang.
Not everybody has Windows Update.
So, Bill, are you glad that you jumped on?
No, look,
I had no idea where this thing was going to go.
I told you, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be talking about friggin' football the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, I got to stop these guys. And
wait for it. Speaking of football, look at this. This is the view outside my hotel room window.
Oh.
Yes. So yes, it's all about football still. Yes.
You guys are criminals, man.
What do you guys think? Are the Raiders going to make it to the playoffs?
Are you asking me? Dude, we don't have a football team down here, so I don't care about football anymore.
Why did you guys lose your football team?
I have no
idea.
Log4j.
Yeah,
probably Log4j.
Blame it on Log4j.
Yeah, it was probably Log4j. You're right.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, and I have this great quote. I was splicing. I watched on the interwebs. There's all this. You know, the new Matrix is coming out, and then you probably saw you could download this stuff from Epic on your PlayStation or whatever to play this CGI. It's cool. But then I watched this interview afterwards where this guy is interviewing Neo and Trinity, and they're talking about stuff. But he said the best thing, and so I'm like trying to edit this clip. So you can see there's Keanu here. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it.
Can we just not have metaverse be like invented by Facebook?
That's Neo from the Matrix saying, can we not have the metaverse being invented by Facebook?
Which is probably the reason why they changed their name to Meta.
Yeah. Did other things.
Did you make a GIF about that, or?
No, I need to do that. You're right. I need to do that, and I'm gonna just put it all over the internet. It's funny. I was like, when I saw the interview and I heard him say that, I was like, oh shit. And so I played back the video from YouTube while doing screen capture on my iPhone, and then started chopping it up and editing it down just to get that one clip. So you're right. I need to turn that into a GIF.
On your free time, right? You were not.
Yeah, my free time as an open source developer. Yeah.
I might not go to Barcelona because I think Mark's going to kick my butt. He's going to chase me down and crush my head.
Hey,
ridiculous.
Did we all see the announcement for a special event? A special
IoT
of course.
Event?
Yes.
IoT Stars is back. If Mobile World Congress is there, we will do IoT Stars.
Yeah.
We still need to confirm the venue, but yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Oh my God.
All of you are invited.
Yay.
Yes. Awesome. On that note, I got to go. So who wants to take Rob, take us out, man.
Okay, thanks for hanging out with us. We're really sorry about the whole Log4j pandemic that is at the same time as the coronavirus.
It's all Mark's
pandemic.
fault.
Yeah, and so it's going to be a lot harder to inoculate people from this Log4j thing because it's everywhere, embedded in everything. So good luck, folks. But in the meantime, thanks for stopping by IoT Coffee Talk. Sometimes we talk about IoT. Sometimes we drink coffee. A lot of times we talk. You can find us on the interwebs at iotcoffeetalk.com, which will redirect you to a YouTube page where you can see cool videos of our beautiful faces and sunshiny attitudes. So please hang out, please subscribe, hit the bell, and come hang out with us because we are big time YouTube stars and we're waiting for those millions of dollars to start pouring in, that we're supposed to be getting paid from YouTube, I don't know what we're gonna have to start doing, if we're gonna have to start, being like, doing our own Twitch channel or something like that, or playing video games.
Garbage truck is not working, so it might have to be either nudity or some form of violence.
That's what Leonard Lee, our esteemed analyst, says. This guy gets paid money to give out advice to people, and that's your advice for the day.
Hey,
from Leonard.
Next episode, we're all going naked, full frontal nudity.
So anyway, thanks for stopping by, folks, and hope you're having a great holiday season. And we are out.